What is up, guys? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making this a part of your day. However you're watching, however you're following the show, or you're doing so on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. We appreciate you making us a part of your day. The growth on this channel, man, just keeps reaching new heights. We appreciate that. This is our normal, regular schedule program. So with that being said, big storylines, and not even all of them about the games themselves. So let's talk about it. So I had no interest today to talk more about the Philadelphia Eagles. No interest. I'm over it. I've said my piece. Everything I've said about the Eagles so far has been largely true outside of the Saquon Barkley signing. I said that was a nonsense signing. And I cited that they had concerns in the secondary, but that secondary has been shored up by some rock-solid draft picks. But ultimately, the Saquon Barkley thing, I was completely wrong on. Just completely wrong on. The guy is an MVP candidate. But if you come here and you're not just looking for some guy who picks his nose and talks about sports, you know that I'll tell you when I'm wrong. I have no issues. I give you strong, hard opinions. I swing for the fences, and sometimes I'm wrong. The Saquon Barkley thing, I was just unequivocally wrong about. But let's talk about this. Let's talk about something that just came out for the Philadelphia Eagles just yesterday. We talked earlier in the season about there being a divide between Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. This isn't something that I made up. This was a sourced piece. This was something that had came out, and Nick Sirianni tried to throw cold water at it. Jalen Hurts tried to throw cold water at it. And now you have this. There is a potential divide between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. And there is no way of someone saying that this isn't true or it's got no real juice to it, no legs to it. I've never seen a team be 11-2 and feel like they hate each other week in and week out. But according to Brandon Graham, he was... I'm assuming asked about this in particular, but according to an article on CBS Sports from Jeff Kerr, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown's relationship, Eagles, Brandon Graham says they were friends, but things have changed. You can take that quote a lot of different ways. There was no issues. Sometimes people just grow apart. However, when you're still working with that person, you're a business partner with that person, you're trying to achieve a common goal with that person, this is the issue you tend to have. And you look at A.J. Brown's statistics this year, they're not as high as you thought they might be. He hasn't had double-digit targets since, I believe, week 1, if I'm not mistaken, that being for A.J. Brown in particular. And yesterday, 4 receptions, 43 yards on the season, 48 receptions, 836 yards, 4 touchdowns. To kind of put that in perspective for you for this A.J. Brown kind of keeping track of his statistics over the years, he's been much more productive. Last year, 106 receptions, 1,400 yards, 7 touchdowns. The year before that for A.J. Brown, 88 receptions, 1,400 yards, nearly 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns. And this year, with only 10 games played, 48 receptions, 836 yards, 7 touchdowns. So there's not only a divide between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts on the field. Mentally, it's not so sure that they like each other. And as much as I want to go after Nick Sirianni for this, and it is true, Nick Sirianni, I've mentioned before multiple times, I think he's a buffoon. I think this Eagles team has the legs to go the distance and win a Super Bowl given how much talent they have. But the reason they won't is because their head coach will keep them from that. But we knew that. Or at least some people might have forgotten because of this nice win streak they're on. And they are on a nice win streak. But this doesn't happen in Mike Tomlin's locker room. This doesn't happen in Bill Belichick's locker room. This doesn't happen in Andy Reid's locker room. You want to know why stories like this get out from the Philadelphia Eagles? Now the second one that Jalen Hurts has a divide, not with Nick Sirianni this time, but with A.J. Brown, that we're not so sure that they like each other. It's because people aren't worried, or I guess I should say players aren't worried about getting in trouble. They don't fear Nick Sirianni. They don't have a healthy fear of Nick Sirianni. They know they're talented. They know they're winning despite Nick Sirianni. And this stuff just builds, and it builds, and it builds. And what's the sign of a team that clearly is very good, but has potential issues down the road? The Carolina Panthers are not a very good team. The Philadelphia Eagles are perceived as a great team. The Eagles should have stomped that team a couple of weeks, or last week. They should have stomped the lights out of the Carolina Panthers on Sunday. They didn't. And if Xavier Legette could catch the football, they would have lost. And that would have been forks and knives out for Nick Sirianni. But they escaped that win, narrowly so, doing so on talent alone, not coaching, not scheme, nothing else. They beat that team off of talent alone. And riding the legs of Saquon Barkley to 124 yards and on 20 carries. That's what they did. They rode their stars. But then you see now the issues with Jalen Hurts, with the head coach, and Jalen Hurts now with the wide receiver, the star wide receiver. And at some point, the common denominator here is Jalen Hurts. If Hurts isn't getting along with the head coach and Hurts isn't getting along with the wide receiver, both of those stories now are very publicly sourced, Brandon Graham being one of them. That's Jalen Hurts, who might not be this amazing leader that we thought he was. We knew Jalen Hurts had deficiencies throwing the football. We knew he wasn't the most accurate. We knew he didn't have the biggest arm. But one of the things about Jalen Hurts is, man, he's a leader. Well, hey, two prominent people, one being a star player, one being the head coach, have problems with him. That's what the stories say. That's what was sourced. So I could go after Nick Sirianni, and I kind of am still. But a lot of this falls on Jalen Hurts. If you are not going to be the most talented quarterback, or you're not going to be a top 5 talented guy, and I would argue, talent-wise, Jalen Hurts might not be in the top 8. You got to be a heck of a leader. Dak Prescott is this guy, right? Where Dak has all these issues mechanically, physically, he can't win the big game, but man, is he a leader. And man, do players respect him. And man, do players like him. They have a healthy fear of Dak Prescott. They're not afraid to get his face, but they got a healthy fear of him. You never see stories coming out of Dak Prescott fighting with CeeDee Lamb. They do it publicly, and CeeDee Lamb goes on and apologizes the next day. That's what happens. This story coming out is crazy, especially for a team being 11-2. There should be sunshine and rainbows. And it just goes to show you all these warning signs that I kept flashing for everyone all year long, saying, listen, I know they're 11-2, but are they really that good? This is why I don't think this team is a legitimate Super Bowl contender. This is why I don't think this team will be in the NFC Conference Championship game. I can't trust them. I don't trust their leadership. I don't trust their locker room. I don't really trust their front office. And now you see this story come out and you ask yourself, does this story come out? Does Brandon Graham say this about his star quarterback and star wide receiver if he doesn't have a healthy fear of Nick Sirianni? If he respects the leadership of Nick Sirianni? Does he do that for Andy Reid or Mike Tomlin or Bill Belichick? I'd say no. Loose lips sink ships. And now we have 2 stories, count them 2, of Jalen Hurts at the beginning of the year having a rift with Nick Sirianni. That was well sourced. That was well out there. And now we have a story between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts having a divide or not necessarily friends. This is your star quarterback and your star wide receiver. A lot of this comes back to Nick Sirianni as well. Loose lips sink ships. This team is continuously winning off of talent and talent alone. If Xavier Legette could catch the football, the Eagles would have lost on Sunday, and then it really would have been knives out for Nick Sirianni. But since this talent is carrying him and lifting up this franchise past his moronic scheming and ability to game plan, he's still safe for now. But this can't happen. You cannot have a team that is not connected win a Super Bowl. You got to be much closer together than that. And so at this point, you just look at the Philadelphia Eagles and you think, it doesn't make any sense. You can't trust them. And that's ultimately where I'm at. I don't trust him. And a lot of this falls on Nick Sirianni. I don't think the players have a healthy fear of him. I don't think this story gets out for Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin. I don't think he is as detailed or as good of a schemer or game planner as Kyle Shanahan or even Mike McDonald, or Mike McDaniel, or even Mike McDonald as well. He's got issues. And this team doesn't respect him, and this locker room's not connected, and they're beating teams off talent and talent alone. It ain't scheming, it's not connectivity, it's not game planning, it's not coaching, and I don't think it's outstanding quarterback play. They're beating teams off talent. And when stories like this come out, that Brandon Graham is saying this is a guy in the locker room, has been around these guys, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, they're not really friends. That's a sign for actual worries for the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's why I will continue to say they're not a legitimate Super Bowl contender, and they absolutely will not be in the NFC Conference Championship game. They just won't. So I had a pretty big prediction last week where I said that the Los Angeles Chargers would beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And honestly, I've never felt more good about being wrong before. The Kansas City Chiefs barely win that game, squeak out a victory, literally hitting the left upright in order to win this game. So I don't necessarily feel bad about that prediction. I thought it was going to come true, but it just goes to show you every single Kansas City Chiefs game looks exactly the same. And I'm not upset about being wrong. I don't hate the Kansas City Chiefs. They're amazingly talented. I didn't grow up hating the Chiefs. I didn't grow up hating Brady. I grew up envious. I'm an Arizona Cardinals fan. I've covered the Cardinals for years. I've watched that team for years. I watch the Chiefs with envy. I don't watch the Chiefs with, oh man, they're just so lucky, which we'll get into in just a second. Having a head coach quarterback combination like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes should make you envious. Should make you want to hold your team to a higher standard. That's why every week, every Friday, every Monday, when I come out with a instant reaction or a preview of the Cardinals games, I consistently hold this team's feet to the fires. Because I don't believe local media will do that here. We're very soft. We don't ask tough questions. We don't go after head coaches. We don't go after players, which is nonsense. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to change that mold. So I don't look at the Chiefs as the big bag Chiefs that just don't let anyone else win. I look at them with envy. And I consistently look at Kyler Murray and I say, can he be Patrick Mahomes? Probably not. Not probably not. No. It's year 6. He would have already been by now. Or I look at Travis Kelce and honestly, I'm like, guy lives a pretty cool life. He's a 3-time Super Bowl champion. Gets to, date one of the biggest rock stars or pop stars in the world. Everyone kind of likes the guy. I love Andy Reid. I love the fact that he got his shot going from the Philadelphia Eagles, who ran him out of town, which was nonsense. Even when I was a kid when that happened, that was craziness. He goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. He dukes it out with Alex Smith for a while, a good, not great quarterback, and then gets Patrick Mahomes. And he's able to turn Mahomes into what is, most people think, the best quarterback in the NFL. So when I see them continuously win games that all look exactly the same, I don't look at it and say luck. Teams of crap or fans of really bad organizations and crappy franchises call what the Chiefs are doing luck. Listen, if it's all luck, they should just start playing the lottery because they got the greatest luck in the world. You don't win back-to-back Super Bowls and 3 and 4 years off of luck and luck alone. This is the same team from last year, minus and adding a couple of different pieces. But mostly it's the same team. And here's the story of the Kansas City Chiefs. Every game looks exactly the same. They muck it up. They pound the football. They get timely touchdowns. They get timely turnovers. And situationally, I guess I should say, not tripping over my words this time, and situationally, they're the best team in clutch time, in crunch time. And still, there's a lot of this debate now with Josh Allen having a massive game, 6 touchdowns. There's a lot of this discussion of who's the best quarterback in the NFL. It's still Patrick Mahomes. It always will be Patrick Mahomes until further notice. And so people are always just kind of looking for the next bright, shiny object. And Josh Allen, after having 6 touchdowns, is that guy. And as much of me being the Josh Allen supporter and calling him the second best quarterback in the NFL for like 4 years now, and now everyone is just starting to catch up with me, you can't pass Patrick Mahomes until you have at least one Super Bowl title. The Mahomes-Josh Allen thing is starting to come very similar to the Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers thing for years. Like, is there a potential that in another universe, Aaron Rodgers wins more Super Bowls than Tom Brady? Potentially. And if you swap the two guys, maybe Tom Brady doesn't win any Super Bowls. But Mahomes was dropped in a better situation than Josh Allen was. Josh Allen is probably more gifted, but Mahomes, situationally, game to game, half to half, quarter to quarter, play to play, is just the best quarterback in the NFL. He could do nothing for 3.5 quarters straight, and then somehow, out of somewhere, for some reason, pulls a rabbit out of his hat. And that's what I mean by every game is the exact same. They muck it up. They run the football, play stifling defense, get a timely turnover, dink and dunk the ball down the field without having elite weapons. And then situationally, in crunch time, they will just outduel you. And they never get tense. They never get tense. Being in all these one-score possessions, these one-score games, winning close, winning by minimal points, winning by not scoring a lot of points, it doesn't matter. They just do the same thing every single week. I don't know how sustainable it is because winning one-score games multiple times in a row is just hard to continue to do. And emotionally, it's fatiguing. This Chiefs team, 12-1, 7-0. I know there are people out there rooting for their downfall and don't want them to win yet another championship. And I'm not so sure if people actually believe that they're not going to win it this year, or that they're not the favorite, or that they're just annoyed because their team isn't as good as the Chiefs. But let's just call it what it is. Until a team can dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs and do it convincingly in the playoffs, we're never going to write them off. They truly are the New England Patriots dynasty, or as I like to call them a couple of weeks ago, the Alabama dynasty. They're always going to be hanging around. Do they still need to get a weapon or two? Yes, for this team. But if I put Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen on the same field together, and I'm a Josh Allen defender, I'm a Josh Allen guy through and through. I've been saying for the past 4 seasons, that he's the second best quarterback in the NFL, and now everyone is just starting to jump on my train with me. Who would you take? Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game atmosphere? Because I've seen it numerous times, guys. And I know what Allen does is great. And if maybe they switched bodies and Allen was Mahomes and Mahomes was Allen on the Buffalo Bills, then maybe things do look differently. But I can only judge what is in front of me. I can only judge reality. And what Mahomes continues to do is just, it's downright insanity. And he hasn't played particularly well this year. He hasn't played particularly bad, but he hasn't played particularly well. 3,000 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 64 QBR. He's a dink and dunk guy until he has to make a play, and then he always makes the play. This Chiefs team, it ain't luck. It's not luck. Doesn't matter what your cruddy organization that you root for says. People that say the Kansas City Chiefs winning streak or their back-to-back Super Bowls or their 3 Super Bowls in the last 4 years is luck, yeah, it ain't luck. You don't win 3 Super Bowls in the past 4 seasons, the 2 Super Bowls back-to-back in recent years, and do that off of luck. They're just better than you, situationally, game to game, half to half, quarter to quarter. And there's not a quarterback and head coach combination that you trust more in the NFL, even if you hate it. So just be prepared. Because there's a very good chance that come February, early February, the Chiefs are holding up yet another trophy. Because while the rest of the NFL world is beating each other up and scoring all these points and looking flashy doing so, I've already seen this story before. And I saw it last season. This is the same Chiefs team. Just add and subtract a couple of different players. But there's a reason why they feel like the best team in the NFL. There's a reason why there's a reason why they feel like the best team in the NFL that will likely win the title. Because ultimately, the Bills, the Bengals, the Niners, whoever it is, the Eagles, if I put all the elite teams in a hat, and I said you could pick one team to win a game, you would take the Chiefs every single time. Even if you don't like them. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. Mahomes, Kelsey, Andy Reid, there's not a better trio in the NFL. And it's so funny because Travis Kelsey was invisible. Basically most of that game. 5 catches for 45 yards. But still it feels like every catch he makes is impactful. So I know people are having trouble accepting the Kansas City Chiefs as potential Super Bowl winners once again, but how many times can we have the same discussion over and over and over and over again? This team just continues to win. This team knows how to win. And that's just overall what it is when it comes to January and late December. And then ultimately for them potentially early in February. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm rooting for my guy Josh Allen to make a Super Bowl this year. But it's hard to count out Patrick Mahomes. All right, let's talk about some Monday Night Football action. Here's the issue with me talking about some Monday Night Football action. The game is literally going on right now as we speak. This will kind of tell you and gauge when I film this. It is currently 7-7 right now. 9:41 left in the second quarter. So you're not going to get any analysis from me from this game like you normally get after a Monday Night Football game. The issue is this, guys. Cincinnati Bengals not making the playoffs. Like I said, they wouldn't. The Dallas Cowboys are not making the playoffs. Not like I said they wouldn't, but they don't have Dak Prescott. I'm not going to break down this game. I was waiting to do this rant, to do this discussion, to have this argument with my listeners, with you, with the viewer, because I thought it was really interesting. There's been a lot of speculation, a lot of talk about Deion Sanders. Where will he go? Could Deion, end up at Ohio State? Maybe. Makes more sense in the place that I'm thinking about right now. Could Deion stay in Colorado? I don't know. Maybe this year, but next year, we'll see. I'm saying after next year, maybe. But it doesn't feel big enough for Deion. Could he go to Florida State? That sounds like the most plausible one. He's an alum of Florida State, and the shield of Florida State combined with Deion Sanders could just be a recipe for national title championship wins. But here's one I really just don't get. You could say Deion Sanders to Ohio State or to Florida State or to any one of these places. And largely I would say, oh yeah, those make sense. Or at least that makes sense for now if you're talking about the Colorado Buffaloes. Here's one that doesn't make sense. Deion Sanders as the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Why in the world would Deion Sanders want to coach that debacle of an organization? I understand why the Cowboys would want Deion Sanders. He's a star. He's primetime. He brings eyes. He brings a culture. He brings an ability to coach. He brings leadership. I get all of that. I understand why the Cowboys would want Deion Sanders. I'm not even saying that they should want Deion Sanders. I think they need someone else, maybe someone who could potentially show that they can develop a quarterback, whatever. It's neither here nor there. Let's get out of that argument of if the Cowboys should or should want Deion Sanders. Let's talk about this argument. Everyone is saying that the Cowboys, they should go hire Deion Sanders. Everyone. Let's go get Deion. Let's just make that happen. And my consistent response to that is, why would Deion want you? Why would Deion Sanders want to coach the Dallas Cowboys? They have a meddling owner. They don't have a history of winning over the last 25 years. They have a Dak Prescott quarterback that is uberly overpaid at $60 million a year. Micah Parsons is an elite defensive talent, but always a head case. And they have one primary offensive weapon in CeeDee Lamb. Why would he want to inherit that disaster? And it even leads me to this. Why would any head coach that has options want that disaster? But mainly Deion Sanders. If you have earned your stripes, if you are seen as one of the hotter end head coaches, the hot candidate head coach, why would you want to go fix a debacle that no one could fix in the last 25 years? This is a team that hasn't been to a conference championship game in 25 years, where you don't get to pick your quarterback, where you don't have any offensive weapons outside of CeeDee Lamb, and your defense is pretty much Swiss cheese outside of Micah Parsons, who at times can be a head case. So I understand. Let's get that out of the way. I understand why the Dallas Cowboys are like, bring on Deion Sanders. We would love primetime here. Yeah, I'm sure you would. But you're a tire fire. You're a disaster. You lack of talent. You have a lack of talent. Your defense is Swiss cheese. You have one offensive weapon in CeeDee Lamb. And Dak Prescott is massively overpaid. And you could even argue potentially out of his prime. Not washed, but you could argue his best days and mobility are behind him. Why would Deion want that? Outside of just giving him a blank check, which Jerry Jones is not prone to do, why would he do that? And I would argue it's not a great fit for the Cowboys. The Cowboys need to go get a Mike Vrabel. They need to go get someone that can build a culture of toughness, get rid of this pretty boy football, get rid of this brand of being America's team and being the flashy glamour place to be. I would get out of the Deion Sanders business. One, because he shouldn't want you. And two, go get someone who is a proven head coach in the NFL that can bring strength to this organization, that can build a new culture in this organization. What you don't need if you're the Dallas Cowboys is a head coach that has never coached in the NFL, is a guy that has success at Colorado, but we're not so sure how that's going to translate. Where a lot of what Deion Sanders does is leadership and building a culture. And we're not so sure what he does is going to translate to the NFL. Plus, he doesn't want to be there. He wants to be in college. But I understand if the NFL came a knocking, he would largely listen. Who wouldn't? It's the NFL. There's 32 jobs. And then here's the other thing. Why would Deion want to go somewhere without his kid? None of it makes any sense. None of it makes any sense. If Deion is going to the pros, it's because someone drafted his kid LeBron James style, except his kid actually has a good amount of talent. I don't want to go after Bronny James. That's not fair. He's just a kid. But it's true. This Dallas Cowboys team has nothing. They've got a lot of cap space. What are you going to do with that? Free agency is fool's gold. It never fixes any team's problems like you think they are going to fix them. They never do, ever. So I saw my friend put out today. Cowboys have $97 million potentially in free agency spending. And it's like a free agency never really fixes anything. It's draft and develop, and this Dallas Cowboys team is probably 2 drafts away from really contending, which is why it never made sense that they gave Dak Prescott a $60 million deal. I would have rather just blown it up or traded him or done something else. And now they're going to be in the market for a new head coach. And I don't see them getting Ben Johnson, and I don't see them getting Bill Belichick, which I don't understand because Bill Belichick is an older head coach who is looking to win now, and the Dallas Cowboys are not there yet. Vrabel feels fitting, and I'm sure there's someone else out there that will get a potential ask at the job. And not to mention, I don't think Jerry Jones would ever do it. He does not want to be outshined by a head coach. And the star power of Deion Sanders compared to the star power of Jerry Jones is like Deion Sanders being Starbucks and Jerry Jones would be a coffee bean. That's what he would be compared to Deion Sanders. And I don't see why he'd want it. Deion Sanders and the Dallas Cowboys makes no sense for all the reasons that I just listed. And so that's kind of where I'm at on that. And although I don't have direct analysis of this Bengals Dallas Cowboys game at this point, the Cowboys are up 10-7 on the Bengals. It really couldn't matter less. These Monday Night Football games have been horrendous because we continue to just put big markets on. But I guess it gets a big TV rating because a lot of people are Cowboys fans for God knows what reason. But that's why you're not getting that sort of analysis tonight. This game doesn't matter. It doesn't have any implications. If anything, both teams should be trying to lose this game. But that was the story I wanted to get after. Deion Sanders potentially to the Dallas Cowboys. It doesn't make any sense. And I don't understand why Deion would ever listen to that. And I understand maybe he feels like he owes Jerry Jones a meeting or an interview, but Jerry's never going to let a guy outshine him. Never will let a guy outshine him, ever. So for all those reasons, it doesn't make any sense. And and the pairing of the Dallas Cowboys and Deion Sanders at some point is nothing more than a fanboy pipe dream. Thanks for tuning in to the Ben Garcia Show. I appreciate you guys making this a part of your day, whether you're listening on just YouTube, because I remember we're going through some restructuring there, but we appreciate you guys listening on YouTube. The subscriber count, the viewership count keeps on going up. I think we had over 300 subs in the last 30 days. It's been just outstanding. I hope at some point there's a day where I could just have huge jumps, massive jumps, 1,000 subs in one day. That would just be insane. But either way, we're thankful for the gratitude or for the amount of support I've had now, and appreciate you guys letting me be a part of your day, however you're listening, however you're watching. And so I will have a different show for you guys out on Friday. I should know this, but I don't know. But let's find out just really quickly while we're here what the exact game will be on for Thursday Night Football this week. But at this point, it's taking me to... That's kind of funny. It's taking me to soccer at this point. But this week, week 15. We're already in week 15. That is just pure insanity. Thursday night, we'll have the LA Rams with the San Francisco 49ers. I will get you a reaction to that after the game ends, along with more Cardinals content. We appreciate that. And guys, thank you so much for making us a part of your day. And until Friday, it's been the Ben Garcia, I guess. Until Friday, I'm Benjamin Garcia, and it's been the Ben Garcia Show.